I was never wanted. My mother, Linda, made that clear from the moment I was old enough to understand words. She never said it outright, but I could hear it in the way she spoke to me, in the way she looked at me, like I was an obligation, a burden she had to bear. My father, Richard, wasn't much better. He wasn't cruel, not in the way my mother was, but he didn't care. He ignored everything that happened in our house, choosing to stay out of the way rather than protect me. All the love, all the attention, all the gifts went to my younger brother, Jeff. If he wanted something, he got it. It didn't matter what it was, new toys, new clothes, even extra dessert at dinner. But if I asked for anything, even something small, my mother would scoff and call me ungrateful. You should be lucky you have a roof over your head, she would say, while handing Jeff yet another expensive toy. I was the one who did all the housework. Cooking, cleaning, laundry, it was all my responsibility. If I didn't do it, I knew what would happen. The first time I refused to clean up after Jeff, I was 8. He had thrown his dinner on the floor in a tantrum, and my mother expected me to clean it up. I said no. The slap came so fast I barely had time to react. My cheek burned, and my ears rang from the impact. You're not going to be some lazy brat in this house, my mother hissed. Clean it up now. I cleaned it up. After that, I never said no again. Jeff loved his power over me. He was younger, but he knew exactly how to use our parents' favoritism to his advantage. He would break something, a glass, a plate, even a piece of furniture, and blame it on me. My mother always believed him. Why do you keep ruining things, Amanda? She would demand. Do you know how much this cost? I would try to defend myself, but it didn't matter. I was always punished. No dinner, locked in my room, extra chores. Sometimes it was worse. One evening when I was 10, Jeff decided it would be funny to shove me while I was carrying a plate of spaghetti to the table. It shattered on the floor, sauce splattering everywhere. He laughed. My mother stormed in and saw the mess. What did you do? She shouted. I didn't. She didn't let me finish. The next thing I knew, I was being dragged by the arm to the bathroom. She turned on the bathtub faucet and shoved my head under the ice-cold water. I kicked and screamed, but she held me down. This is what happens when you make a mess, she said coldly. When she finally let me go, I collapsed on the floor, gasping for breath. Jeff stood in the doorway, grinning. My father sat in the living room the entire time, watching TV. He didn't say a word. School was my only escape, but even that wasn't safe. I wore old, ill-fitting clothes, while Jeff got brand new outfits every season. Kids noticed. They whispered about me, laughed at me. Why do you always wear the same thing? One girl sneered. Do you not have any other clothes? I wanted to disappear. There was one teacher, Mrs. Collins, who seemed to notice. She pulled me aside one afternoon when I was 11. Amanda, is everything okay at home? She asked gently. I wanted to tell her. I wanted to scream for help. But I knew what would happen if I did. I had seen what my mother did when someone questioned her parenting. One time, a neighbor casually mentioned that I always seemed quiet. My mother smiled and laughed it off, but that night, she cornered me in my room. Are you telling people things? She demanded. I shook my head frantically. Good. Because if you do, you'll regret it. So when Mrs. Collins asked if I was okay, I forced a smile and nodded. I'm fine. She didn't believe me. I could see it in her eyes. But she didn't push. By the time I was 12, I had stopped hoping for anything better. My life was cleaning, taking care of Jeff, and making sure I didn't anger my mother. That was my routine. But then something happened that changed everything. One night, my mother left for the store and told me to watch Jeff. He was 6 by then, bratty as ever. He wanted to play outside, but it was raining. No, I told him. You'll get sick. He pouted. I'll tell Mom you hit me. I froze. He had done this before. Last time she had believed him. I had tried to explain, but she slapped me so hard I saw stars. I needed to distract him. How about a game instead? I suggested. It worked for a while. But then he got bored. He grabbed a glass from the kitchen and threw it at the wall. It shattered into pieces. My heart dropped. The door opened. My mother was home. She saw the broken glass and her face darkened. What the hell happened? Jeff pointed at me. She did it. I panicked. No, I didn't. She didn't care. She grabbed my arm and yanked me toward the closet. Not again, I begged. She shoved me inside and slammed the door. The lock clicked. I pounded on the door, screaming. It was pitch black, the air heavy with dust. My breathing became ragged. I had always been terrified of the dark. My mother knew that. That's why she did it. I don't know how long I was in there. Hours. My legs ached from standing. When she finally let me out, I was shaking. That was the moment I realized something. I wasn't just unwanted. I wasn't just unloved. I was hated. And I didn't know how much longer I could survive in that house. The day I turned 18, I left and never looked back. It wasn't a dramatic escape in the middle of the night. No suitcases thrown out the window. No running down the street in the dark. It was quieter than that, but it felt just as big. I had spent my entire childhood trapped in that house, in that life, and now I was free. College was my escape. I had been accepted into a state university a few hours away, and I took that as my ticket out. I had no money, no support, but I didn't care. I packed what little I had into a duffel bag and walked out the door without saying goodbye. My mother didn't try to stop me. My father barely looked up from his newspaper. Jeff smirked like he knew something I didn't. I took the bus to campus, stepping off into a world that didn't know me as the unwanted daughter or the built-in maid. I was just Amanda. But freedom wasn't easy. I had no money. My mother made sure of that. She had taken every penny I ever saved, calling it rent for living under her roof. I applied for financial aid, but it barely covered tuition. I needed to work fast. I got my first job at a tiny diner off campus. The manager, a greasy-haired man named Phil, gave me a once-over and shrugged. "You ever wait tables before?" "No, but I can learn." He snorted. "You'll either sink or swim. Let's see what happens." I sank. At first, I dropped plates, mixed up orders, and had a hard time keeping up with the rush. Phil yelled, the customers sighed, and my feet ached like they'd never ached before. But I couldn't afford to fail. I worked harder, memorized orders faster, and learned how to balance trays with one hand. Within a month, I was decent. Within 3, I was good. But one job wasn't enough. I picked up a second gig at a 24-hour convenience store. The night shifts were brutal. Drunks stumbling in at 3 a.m., sketchy men lingering near the registers, the constant hum of fluorescent lights making me feel like I was trapped in a fishbowl. But the paychecks kept me afloat. I barely slept. I went to class, worked, studied, worked again, and collapsed into bed just long enough to function the next day. My roommates, Emily and Rachel, didn't understand. "You never hang out," Emily complained one night. "We're going to a party. Come with us." "I can't," I said, pulling on my uniform. "I have work." Rachel frowned. "You work too much." I forced a smile. That's kind of the point. They didn't get it. They had parents who sent them money, safety nets to catch them if they failed. I had nothing. If I tripped, I fell hard. Then I met Olivia. She was in my psychology class, loud, funny, and completely different from me. She took one look at my overworked, exhausted state and decided we were going to be friends. "You look like you haven't eaten a real meal in weeks," she said one day, plopping down next to me. I shrugged. "I don't have time for real meals." "Bullshit." She grabbed my arm and dragged me across campus to her dorm. "I'm making you dinner." That's how it started. Olivia fed me, forced me to take breaks, and somehow wormed her way into my life despite my walls. And then she introduced me to her mom. Karen was nothing like my mother. She was warm, welcoming, and genuinely kind. The first time I met her, she pulled me into a hug before I even knew what was happening. "I've heard so much about you," she said. I stiffened. I wasn't used to being touched like that. But Karen didn't seem to notice. She ushered me inside, sat me down at the kitchen table, and piled my plate with food. I had never seen a mother like her before. She and Olivia had inside jokes. They laughed together. She asked about Olivia's classes and actually listened to the answers. When I tried to stay quiet, Karen turned to me. "What about you, Amanda? How's school?" I hesitated. "It's fine." She gave me a knowing look. "Just fine." I didn't know what to say. No one had ever asked me that before. Not like they actually cared. Karen started inviting me over regularly. At first, I thought she was just being polite, but then I realized she wanted me there. She made extra food because she knew I wasn't eating properly. She asked me about my life, my dreams, and actually listened. She even helped me with job applications when I told her I needed something better than the diner. Slowly, she became the mother I never had. But my past still followed me. One night, as I was closing up the convenience store, my phone rang. I didn't recognize the number. "Hello." A familiar voice sneered on the other end. Well, look who finally picked up. My stomach dropped. "Jeff, what do you want?" I snapped. "You left without saying goodbye," he said mockingly. "That's rude, Mandy." I clenched my jaw. "Don't call me that." He laughed. "Mom's pissed, you know. She says you abandoned your family." I scoffed. "She never wanted me there to begin with. She wants you to come home." A chill ran down my spine. "Why?" "She needs help with the house. And Dad's been drinking more." I knew what that meant. My father had always been a quiet drunk, but when he got angry, he lashed out. Not at Jeff. Never at Jeff. Just at me. "No," I said firmly. "I'm not coming back." His voice turned cold. "You think you're better than us now?" I hung up. That night, I sat in Karen's kitchen, staring at my untouched food. She noticed. "What's wrong, sweetheart?" I wanted to tell her, but I was afraid. Would she think I was weak for still being scared? But then I looked at her, really looked at her. She wasn't my mother. She wouldn't hit me for speaking up. So I told her everything. She listened, her face growing tight with anger. When I finished, she reached across the table and took my hand. "You are never going back there," she said fiercely. And for the first time in my life, I believed it. I should have known my mother wouldn't let me go so easily. At first, it seemed like she had. After I left for college, there was nothing. No calls, no texts, no sudden appearances at my dorm. It was like she had erased me the moment I stepped out of her house. And that was fine. That was what I wanted. But then I met Karen. And Linda hated that. At first, she ignored it. Maybe she thought it was just a temporary thing, that I'd come crawling back the moment life got too hard. But I didn't. I worked, I studied, and I had Karen, a woman who showed me more kindness in a few months than my own mother had in my entire life. I should have expected the backlash. It started small. Snide comments from my brother, Jeff, whenever he called me from a new number after I blocked the last one. Mom says you've got a new mommy now, he sneered once. That's cute. I hung up. Then the comments started showing up online. My mother had never cared much about social media before, but suddenly, she was posting constantly. And not just normal posts. No, these were aimed at me, designed to cut me in ways only she knew how. Some daughters forget where they came from, she wrote one day. After everything I sacrificed, I guess I was just never enough. Another post. It's funny how people replace family so easily. But when things get hard, let's see who's really there. The worst part? The comments. My aunts, uncles, even distant cousins I hadn't spoken to in years. Everyone chimed in. She was always ungrateful. She only cares about herself. I don't know how you put up with her for so long, Linda. It was like watching them build a case against me, twisting my entire childhood into something unrecognizable. They made it sound like I had abandoned a loving home, like I had turned my back on a mother who had done nothing but care for me. I tried to ignore it. I had to. But then the private messages started. First from family members. Aunt Cheryl, I don't know what's going on between you and your mom, but she's heartbroken. You should talk to her. Cousin Rachel, I get that you're mad, but family is family. You don't turn your back on them. Even people I barely knew, some distant relatives, friends of my mother's, started chiming in. And then the messages from my mother herself. At first, they were guilt trips. Linda, I don't know how you sleep at night, knowing how much you've hurt me. Linda, do you ever think about how this makes me feel? Or is it just all about you now? Then they turned aggressive. Linda, you're disgusting. Running to some stranger like she's your real mother? Pathetic. Linda, if you think she loves you, you're wrong. She'll get tired of you just like everyone else does. I blocked her. That only made things worse. 2 days later, Olivia burst into my dorm, phone in hand, eyes wide with panic. Holy shit, she said. Your mom just posted about you again. I took her phone and read. It was worse than before. Linda had written a full detailed post about how I had cut her out after everything she had done for me. She painted herself as the victim, a mother who had worked tirelessly for her ungrateful daughter, only to be cast aside like trash. And, of course, she included just enough truth to make it believable. The comments were even crueler this time. I can't believe a daughter would do this to her own mother. Some people don't deserve parents. Linda, you're better off without her. And then, buried in the middle of the comment section, I saw Jeff's response. She's always been like this. Selfish. A liar. She'll regret it when she has no one left. I felt sick. Do you want me to say something? Olivia asked. I will. I don't care if it starts a war. No, I said, shaking my head. That's what she wants. A reaction. But that didn't mean I wasn't furious. Karen noticed something was wrong that night. I had gone over for dinner, but I barely touched my food. What happened? She asked gently. I hesitated. I hated dumping my problems on her. She had already done so much for me. But Karen wasn't like my mother. She actually wanted to know. So I told her. She listened, her expression darkening with every word. By the time I finished, she looked like she wanted to hunt Linda down herself. She doesn't get to do this to you, Karen said firmly. You don't owe her anything. I know, I whispered. But knowing it didn't make it hurt any less. The final blow came 2 weeks later. I had been avoiding my family completely, refusing to engage, hoping they would get bored and move on. It was working until my phone rang. It was an unknown number. I didn't answer. Then a voicemail came through. I hesitated before pressing play. It was my mother's voice. You are a disgusting, selfish little bitch, she snarled. You think you're better than us? You're not. You're nothing. And I promise you one day you'll come crawling back, because no one else will want you. Not even her. Click. I sat there, staring at my phone, hands shaking. Something in me snapped. I blocked every number, every social media account, every single connection to that toxic mess of a family. I wasn't doing this anymore. I wasn't going back. And for the first time I felt free. I thought cutting my mother off would give me peace. I was wrong. At first, it seemed like it had worked. After I blocked her and the rest of my so-called family, there was silence. No calls, no messages, no guilt-tripping Facebook posts popping up on my feed. For the first time in my life, I felt like I could breathe. Then the storm hit. Linda couldn't reach me directly anymore, so she turned to the one place where she still had an audience, Facebook. It started with vague, passive-aggressive posts. Some people forget the woman who gave them life. No worries. God sees everything. A mother's love is unconditional, but betrayal has consequences. Then she got bolder. She started naming me outright, posting long dramatic rants about how I had abandoned my own mother for strangers and how I was brainwashed by people who wanted to steal her daughter away. She painted herself as the tragic victim, the selfless mother who had given everything for a daughter who had turned against her. Her friends and relatives ate it up. I can't believe Amanda would do this to you. After all you sacrificed, Linda. She should be ashamed. Ungrateful children always regret it in the end. Some of them, extended family members I barely knew, went further. They messaged me directly from new accounts. You only have one mother. You'll regret this. Linda loves you more than anyone ever will. You think these new people really care about you? I deleted the messages without reading past the first line. I told myself it didn't matter. They didn't matter. Then she made it worse. One afternoon, Olivia called me, her voice tense. You need to see what your mom just posted. I sighed. Liv, I don't want to. She posted your work information. My stomach dropped. What? She put your job title, your company name, everything. She's telling people to call your employer and tell them you're unstable. I rushed to check. Sure enough, there it was. A full public post describing my supposed emotional problems and how my employer should know who they hired. She encouraged people to contact my HR department, even provided the number. I felt sick. I had worked so hard to build a stable life. I had taken out loans, juggled jobs, and clawed my way to where I was. And now she was trying to rip it all away. I called HR before she had the chance. My boss, Megan, was an intimidating woman who didn't tolerate nonsense. I sat in her office, hands shaking, as I explained the situation. She's going to call, I said. Or someone will. I want you to know it's not true. Megan leaned back in her chair, arms crossed. Amanda, do you do your job well? Yes. Are you a danger to anyone? No. She shrugged. Then I don't care what some lunatic on Facebook says. Relief washed over me, so fast I almost cried. But Linda wasn't done. When her online smear campaign didn't work, she escalated. A week later, I was at work, focused on a report, when security was called to the front desk. I didn't think much of it, until I heard my name. A coworker, Jake, poked his head into my office. Amanda? There's a woman at the front asking for you. I knew before he even finished the sentence. I stood, heart pounding, and walked to the lobby. And there she was. Linda. She looked different. Older somehow. Her usually well-maintained hair was frizzy, her makeup uneven. But her eyes, those same sharp, calculating eyes, were exactly the same. There she is, she announced, loud enough for the entire lobby to hear. My daughter. My ungrateful daughter. I froze. People were watching. The receptionist looked uncomfortable. A few employees had stopped in their tracks. I forced myself to stay calm. You need to leave. She scoffed. Oh, now you talk to me? After everything? After ignoring me, blocking me, humiliating me. Her voice rose with every word. I could feel the heat of everyone's stares. You are embarrassing yourself, I said, keeping my voice low. Her face twisted. Embarrassing myself? I am your mother. She turned to the growing crowd. Do you all know what she did? She cut off her own family. After everything we gave her. Security arrived. A tall, broad-shouldered guard named Damon, someone I had seen around but never spoken to, stepped between us. Ma'am, you need to leave. Linda glared at him. This is my daughter. I have the right to be here. No, you don't, Damon said flatly. Leave now or we'll escort you out. I saw it then. That flicker of panic in her eyes. She wasn't in control anymore. She had expected me to break down, to beg, to let her manipulate me like she always had. But I wasn't that girl anymore. She turned back to me. You're making a mistake, she hissed. One day you'll come crawling back. And I won't be there. I met her gaze. Good, I said. Her face twisted with fury, but before she could say another word, Damon and another guard took her by the arms and led her out. She screamed the whole way. The second she was gone, the tension in the room shattered. Jake let out a low whistle. Damn. That was some movie-level drama. I let out a shaky breath. Yeah. Welcome to my life. Megan appeared in the hallway, arms crossed. You okay? I nodded. She nodded back. Good. Take the rest of the day off. And if she comes back, we're getting a restraining order. I walked out of that office feeling lighter than I had in years. Linda had lost control. And she knew it. The first time my father called me, I almost didn't answer. His name flashed across my screen, an unfamiliar sight. Richard never called. Not for birthdays, not for holidays. He had spent my entire childhood as a silent bystander, sitting in his armchair, nursing a drink, and flipping through the newspaper while my mother tore me apart. The idea of him reaching out now, after everything, felt surreal. I stared at the phone until it stopped ringing. A moment later, a voicemail popped up. With a sigh, I pressed play. His voice was quieter than I remembered. Amanda, it's Dad. I know you probably don't want to hear from me. And I don't blame you. But if you have a minute, call me back. I almost deleted it. Almost. But something in his tone, hesitation, maybe even regret, made me pause. Against my better judgment, I called him back. He picked up on the second ring. Amanda? I took a slow breath. Yeah. What do you want? A heavy silence. Then, I'm sorry. I blinked. I had never heard those words from him before. For what? I asked, my voice flat. For everything, he said. For standing by and letting your mother treat you the way she did. For not protecting you. I should have done something. I should have been better. It felt like a trick. Like some new manipulation. I swallowed. Why now? A long pause. Because I see it now, he admitted. I see what she did to you. And I see what she's trying to do to me. I frowned. What do you mean? She's unraveling, he said. Ever since you cut her off, she's been different. Angrier. More paranoid. It used to be all about controlling you. Now it's me. And Jeff. I felt a twinge of something. Pity? No. He had let it happen for years. He had chosen silence. She's been talking to lawyers, he continued. Trying to make sure I can't leave her with nothing. But I don't care. I'm filing for divorce. I gripped the phone tighter. Are you serious? Yes. Asai. I should have left years ago. I should have taken you with me. I didn't know what to say to that. Then he added, and Jeff is finally seeing the truth. That caught my attention. Jeff. He was always her favorite, my father said bitterly. She never made him suffer like you did. But now that she has no one else to control, it's all on him. And he doesn't like it. I let that sink in. Jeff had spent his whole life with our mother's love and protection. He had been the golden child, the one who could do no wrong. But now he was trapped with her, and for the first time, he was on the receiving end of her rage. She's suffocating him, Dad said. Checking his phone, tracking his every move, screaming at him when he does anything she doesn't approve of. He hesitated. I think he's scared of her. I almost laughed. Funny, I said. He never cared when it was me. I know, Dad admitted. But people don't see it until it happens to them. I didn't care about Jeff. Or at least I didn't want to care. He had enjoyed my suffering. He had watched as Linda hit me, screamed at me, locked me in closets, and he had laughed. He had gotten gifts while I got punishments. He had been untouchable. But now he was her prisoner. For the first time in his life, Jeff knew what it was like to be me. Linda's downfall happened faster than I expected. She had always been in control. She had dictated the rules, twisted reality, and forced everyone to dance to her tune. But now, without me to lash out at, without a family willing to play along, she had nothing left. She spiraled. The Facebook posts got wilder. She started attacking not just me, but my father. Some men betray their wives after decades of marriage. Some daughters betray their mothers. I was surrounded by snakes. When you give your whole life to your family and they throw you away like garbage, that pain never fades. Then she started making threats. Some people will learn the hard way that blood is thicker than water. Jeff messaged me out of nowhere. Jeff, I get it now. I stared at the screen. He had never, not once, admitted I was right about anything. Me, too late for that. Jeff, I know. I don't know what to do. I wanted to tell him to deal with it. To enjoy the life he had helped create. But instead, I asked, what is she doing? His response was almost instant. Jeff, losing her mind. He told me everything. She was drinking more. Not just wine at dinner, but full bottles in the middle of the day. She started accusing him of betraying her, of choosing Dad over her. When he tried to leave the house, she would block the door, demand to know where he was going, accuse him of abandoning her like Amanda did. And then she started threatening to hurt herself if he ever left. She's insane, Jeff said when he called me that night. His voice was unsteady, like he was holding back panic. I can't live like this. I can't breathe. I closed my eyes. Welcome to my life. I'm sorry, he whispered. I didn't respond. The final collapse came when my father served her divorce papers. I wasn't there, but Jeff was. He told me how she reacted. She screamed, threw a glass at the wall, called my father every name in the book. She accused him of ruining her life, of turning her children against her, of destroying the family. And then, the moment that shook Jeff the most, she begged. She dropped to her knees, clung to my father's leg, and sobbed. Don't leave me, she pleaded. You can't leave me. I gave you everything. I gave you my life. She had never begged for anything before. Jeff said it was the first time he ever saw her powerless. My father pulled away. I lost my daughter because of you, he said. I won't lose myself too. He left. The divorce went through. Linda lost the house, lost the financial security, lost the stability she had controlled for so long. And Jeff? He packed a bag and left too. I got one last message from him. Jeff, she's alone now. For the first time in my life, I felt something I never thought I would. Peace. The first time I realized I wasn't afraid anymore, I was standing in an airport, holding a one-way ticket to Paris. For years, fear had ruled my life. Fear of my mother's wrath. Fear of being alone. Fear of failing. But now I was free. And for the first time in my life, I had the money, the confidence, and the independence to live on my own terms. It hadn't happened overnight. It had taken years of grinding, of working harder than I ever thought possible. But eventually, I made it. It started with a promotion. After everything with Linda, I had thrown myself into my career, working late nights, taking on extra projects, proving my worth. And it paid off. One afternoon, my boss, Megan, called me into her office. You've been busting your ass here, she said, leaning back in her chair. And I've noticed. I tensed. Okay. She smirked. Relax. It's good news. We're promoting you. I blinked. Wait, what? You earned it, Amanda. Higher pay, better benefits, and if you want to start traveling for work, we can make that happen too. For a moment, I was speechless. I had spent so much of my life scraping by, working dead-end jobs just to survive. And now I was finally in control. That night, I went to Karen's house. The moment I walked in, she took one look at my face and smiled. You got it, didn't you? I nodded. I got it. She pulled me into a hug. I'm so proud of you, sweetheart. Sweetheart. She had called me that before, but something about it felt different this time. Like it meant more. As the months passed, our bond grew stronger. She wasn't just Olivia's mom anymore. She was my mom too. And one night, she made it official. We were sitting on the back porch, sipping tea, when she said it. You know, she mused, I always wanted another daughter. I looked up at her. And if you're okay with it, I'd like to call you mine. For a second, I couldn't breathe. Because I knew what she meant. She wasn't trying to replace my past. She was giving me something new. A real mother. One who loved me without conditions, without cruelty. Tears stung my eyes. I'd like that, I whispered. From that day forward, I was her daughter. But, of course, Linda wasn't done with me yet. I had moved on. I had a career, a future, a family that actually cared about me. And that's exactly when Linda tried to come back. It started with a message. Linda, Amanda, I miss you. I stared at the screen, unimpressed. I hadn't heard from her in nearly a year. After the divorce, she had lost everything, the house, the financial security, the control. She had burned every bridge. Jeff had cut ties too, and from what I had heard, she was completely alone. And now, suddenly, she missed me? I deleted the message. A week later, another one came. Linda, I know I made mistakes. But I'm still your mother. No, she wasn't. Not anymore. Then the guilt tripping started. Linda, I have no one, Amanda. I lost everything. Do you really want me to suffer? I did nothing. So she tried a new tactic. She called from an unknown number. I made the mistake of picking up. Amanda, she said the moment I answered. Her voice was softer than I remembered. Weaker. Please. Just talk to me. I hung up. And then, her final attempt. She showed up at my workplace. I was sitting in my office when Damon, the head of security, knocked on my door. We have a problem. I frowned. What kind of problem? A woman is at the front desk demanding to see you. He hesitated. She says she's your mother. I exhaled sharply. Of course she does. I followed him to the lobby. And there she was. Linda looked different. The confident, domineering woman I had grown up fearing was gone. In her place was someone desperate, someone scrambling for scraps of control. Amanda, she breathed, eyes glassy. You look good. I crossed my arms. What do you want? She flinched. I just want to talk. We have nothing to talk about. Her expression crumbled. I know I hurt you. But I'm your mother. We can fix this. No, we can't. Her face twisted. So that's it? You just cut me out of your life forever. Yes. Her eyes filled with tears. But for the first time in my life, I didn't care. I turned to Damon. Please escort her out. Linda sobbed as she was led away. And I felt nothing. Because I had one. Because I had finally taken back my life. And I was never looking back.